Okay, so now when you start working with lots of data, where you have many, many rows, many, many columns of data, and it definitely goes well beyond your screen. In other words, you have to do a lot of scrolling to the right or a lot of scrolling down. But whatever the case is, what will happen sometimes, depending on the complexity and the amount of data that you have, you might find yourself at a point where you start scrolling down, something like this. You start scrolling over to the right a little bit, and you see this number, and you can't remember what that number is. As far as if we looked at the column headings at the top, those have been those have fallen off the screen. And even if we knew what that was, we're not quite sure who the customer was that had generated this number. So you find yourself having to go back up to the top to see what the column is. Oh yeah, that's the quantity. And then you'd have to go back over to the left here and see that it was, this company there. So what we want to do is set up our screen so that we can make it so where the row, let's say row 1, stays locked into place. So as we scroll down like that, it'll stay there just as does ABC. Okay? And also, we want to make sure that when we scroll to the right like this, that we keep locked in, let's say, column A, B, and C. All right? So the way that you have to think about this is what you want to lock in. So in this case, we want to lock in through column C. So if I visually do this, I'll just do it like this. If I visually say, okay, I want to lock in that, and I also want to lock in row 1. All right. So I want to make it so where as I scroll my data, this will scroll to the right, but this will stay in place. Or as I scroll down, this will stay in place at the top. See, so regardless of what I'm looking at here, I'll always know what it belongs to, what field it is, and what, in this case, what company it is. All right. Now, the key to this is to say to yourself, or to picture in your mind to yourself, if I want to lock in this stuff here, then the nearest upper left-hand corner cell that's just below that and to the right of it is this one right here. Okay? So the key to this is to position your pointer at that position. So if I click on that position there, okay? So in your mind, you kind of visualize what you just saw highlighted, right? So then you say, okay, that's where I need to be. I'm just below, and I'm just to the right of what I want to lock in. Then what you do is you go to the View tab, you go over here to the Freeze Panes, and you choose Freeze Panes. Now when you do that, you'll see a slight outline kind of come up here. So now, as I scroll to the right, look at that. I can go all the way to the far right here and say, okay, there's the numbers for each of those transactions, right? And I can actually see who the company is. So even if I now scroll down, all right, I'm still going to know what the fields are, right? And so whatever I'm looking at, I can say, well, this number here, well, it has to do with that company, and it's the quantity field. Pretty neat. Now, when I want to go back and get rid of that, by the way, too, this does not affect your printing, so you can still print just the way you've always printed. But if you want to turn this off now, all you do is you go back into Freeze Panes, and you hit Unfreeze, and that takes you back to square one. Now, a cousin to this feature is something called Split, okay? And I'll show you how Split works. What you do is you just casually kind of position yourself wherever in the worksheet, just somewhere other than the first row or the first column, just somewhere out here, okay? Then what you can do is you go back into the View tab, and this time we're going to go and hit Split. You click on a split, and it splits the screen. Now what that means is that I can take this this vertical split here, drag it over to here, okay? I can take this split here and drag it up to about right there, okay? And by doing that, I can now scroll down, and I can scroll to the right, and it does that for me. Really, the true reason for using something like this would be to go like here and take the top portion here and scroll to like the very bottom of your worksheet. So I'll just go to the bottom, as you can see this. So there's the very bottom, all right? So maybe if you had totals or something down here, you could actually see your totals there. So you can actually see the bottom of your worksheet there, and then on the bottom part, see the top of your worksheet here, or anything in between. Maybe you want to kind of fold space, as we call it, right? And kind of do something like this, all right? Whatever's needed. So it kind of extends what the freeze does, all right? But you get to a point where it's either you use this one or you use the freeze, but it depends on how you want to work it. But I would say that I think you now have a pretty good idea with that. So now if we wanted to get rid of the split, all you have to really do, oh, by the way, too, if you want to get rid of just one of the splits, you can actually just kind of drag it, let's say this vertical one, all the way to the far left like this. And you can take this one and drag it all the way to the very top here. Or what you can do, if you just want to get rid of everything, is just go back up here and hit split, and that turns it off. All right? Okay, so that's about it with those two. So hopefully maybe you can start using them. It's a great little set of tools there. I appreciate you watching the video. Take care.